Hello and welcome to Tolve Closes with me, Amanda Tolve, your residential realtor. I service Bergen County, Passaic County, Essex County, and some of Morris and Hudson counties. My job is to make sure that the specific needs of my buyers and sellers are met, and also to guide them from the beginning of the process to the end. So today I wanted to talk about something that when people are searching for a home, they tend to overlook, and that is property maintenance. So every home, depending on the size and location, will require different maintenance, but these are things that you need to be paying attention to when you're searching for your home. And there will be different costs involved with each kind of maintenance as well. So I'm going to go through some of the main items that you'll want to consider when calculating your cost to live in regards to maintenance to the home. So let's start with an easy one. This one you would think, is obvious, but sometimes we overlook it, and that is your lawn care. You'll need to hire someone to maintain your lawn, or you'll have to do it yourself, which means you have two options. You can pay for a service to have it done for you, or you can pay for the equipment and do it yourself, which of course always saves some money. But either way, you are going to have to, it's going to cost you something. So some things to consider when you're looking for lawn care and how much maintenance it's going to take for you to take care of your lawn. How big the grass area is. I know this seems obvious, but sometimes we overlook it because when we're home searching, we get excited and we see this big, beautiful backyard or this big, beautiful front lawn. You have to consider that you're going to have to take care of that. You're going to have to maintain it and keep up with the upkeep. So does the front lawn, for instance, does it have a lot of landscaping? Are there a lot of flowers and plants? Maybe there's rocks or, different types of, maybe there's a pond in the front, or that could even be in the backyard as well. Those are things that you'll have to maintain, and you want to, keep that in mind, because maybe it is something that you can do yourself and it's easy. Or if you're not that handy when it comes to landscaping and lawn, you may have to hire someone to do that service for you. So you definitely want to consider that, even if there's trees and stuff like that that need to be maintained in the front. You'll also want to consider the backyard, how big the backyard is. Again, this is something people look at and say, wow, what a beautiful backyard. But some people do, I've had clients walk out and say, oh no, this looks like a lot of work, because it can be. Depending again how handy you are when it comes to taking care of the lawn. So if you're going to get that lawnmower and do it yourself, that's something you like to do it, you enjoy doing. Big backyard with a lot of grass is no problem. You might want a house that has less grass, so maybe you want more patio or more, like I mentioned before, rocks, so that you don't have to maintain the lawn so much. Or so if you're hiring someone, the cost will be less. You also want to consider, which people forget, is, the backyard, how it's set up. So if it's just a clear, yard, something easily that can be mowed or lawned, that can be mowed easily, then it's going to cost you less. But if you have a hilly backyard, or if there's, maybe a lot of rocks or landscaping in the backyard that somebody's going to have to go around, either you or the person you hired, it's going to be a little bit more costly, and it's going to take more time and more maintenance. So again, you want to look at the structure of your backyard, the grass area, and then you also want to pay attention to the front yard, the grass area and the landscaping, because those are things that you're going to have to maintain and upkeep if you want them to stay looking pretty and healthy, and if you want it to last long. Now, opposite of the grass, because we live in New Jersey, we have to worry about this. We have to consider the snow. So we have all 4 seasons in New Jersey, and winter is unfortunately when we get the snow. So how much are you willing to shovel, and how much are you willing to hire? How much are you willing to pay a service to come out and do the shoveling for you? Now, this goes back again to the size of the property. You're going to have to pay attention to the backyard, but the backyard, again, this is going to be specific, and that's why I always say each home search is specific to your needs. Maybe you don't want to use the backyard during the winter, so you know what? Piling up the snow is no problem. But if not, then you're going to have to think about how you're going to maintain that. Are you going to hire someone to come shovel out the backyard so that you can still use it during the winter, or are you just going to let it go? Also, your driveway and all that stuff, like, are you going to shovel that out yourself, or are you going to hire someone else to do it? So that could be costly as well, because you can either get the snow blower and do the work yourself, or you can hire someone to professionally remove it, depending on, again, your preference, whether you want to do the work yourself or hire someone to do it. So we have to consider snow as well, because we're in New Jersey. And don't forget too, once that snow is removed or once it's melted, we also have to maintain or bring the grass back to life. So that will also be another maintenance that you're going to have to do to your grass areas. Again, with patios, cement or rocks and things like that, it's a little bit easier to maintain, because those things you can clean rather than having to regrow the grass. So definitely look at those things when you are searching for your property. And I can help you as your realtor look for those things, of course. You just let me know how much maintenance you're willing to do. And of course, the pricing for the lawn services will depend highly on lawn and the snow, will depend highly on the size of the property. So as we mentioned before, the bigger the property, the bigger the grass area, the more it's going to cost you. Or if you're going to do it yourself, the more work you're going to have to do. So just keep those things in mind. It seems like common sense, but we tend to get excited when we see a house that we like and we overlook these maintenance items. So the next step, you have to keep an eye out for, especially again, because we live in New Jersey and it does get cold here, especially during the winter months, is your heating system. Now, you have to figure out, is the heat for the house that you're looking at, is it electric, is it gas, is it forced air? You'll have different bills for each type of heat. The pricing and the cost will vary. Electric tends to be more expensive, but if it's a smaller condo, you might be okay with that, because again, it's a smaller area that needs to be heated, so the bill might not be too bad. But again, we have to look at the size of the home. If you're buying a bigger home with high ceilings and open space, that might take longer to heat up rather than a smaller, I wouldn't say smaller home in general, maybe it's the same size home, but it has lower ceilings and smaller rooms. Those might heat up more quickly, so you are able to use less heat. So yes, again, like everything else, it depends on the size and how much you will have to use the heat and how big your electric bill will be, or whether it's heat, gas, electric. What did I want to mention? Okay, yeah, so also you see a lot too in my area, northern New Jersey, we have a lot of the older homes that still have the radiators. So those heat up very well. But again, when you're looking at a home, maybe you don't like the way they look, but there's also cell covers for them too. So you have to think about which heating system you prefer. And if there's one that you want, and maybe the house that you have doesn't want, I also recommend getting a quote of how much it would be to transfer the system or to change the system to another heating system. This way you have an idea of how much it'll cost you later on down the road to change the whole heating system to something that you prefer. So that's also something that will help you as far as maintenance. Whatever heating system you think is easier for you to maintain, you can change over the system to that. Now, not just the monthly cost that you should be considering for maintenance, but you should also have a yearly service done on your furnace. And this is very important. It's basically like a doctor checkup for your furnace. You want to make sure that that heat is working, and you don't want to wait until it's the middle of a snowstorm and then you find out that your heat is not working, because at that point, it's going to be very hard to get someone to come out and service it, because not everyone, but there are a lot of people who probably did the same thing. So again, this is one that people overlook, the maintenance of your furnace, but it's very important, because if you do that yearly cleaning and inspection, or have the professional come in and do the yearly cleaning and inspection of your furnace, you can prevent any damages, and you can give your furnace a longer lifespan. So you want to maintain that and keep it in good shape so that you're not ending up with a broken furnace or having to replace it in the middle of a snowstorm. So definitely think about maintaining your furnace. Another important maintenance to consider is the gutters. So this one is another simple one, but yet I see so many closings, that we have the buyer is asking the seller, let me just close that. Can you please tell the seller to clean out the gutters, And it's not, a difficult thing to do. It does require a ladder, so there might be a safety issue there, but it's an important thing to do, because if the gutters are not cleaned, then the water can get into the house. It can cause leaks. It can cause damage to the outside of your home. And it's a simple thing, that's definitely a maintenance that you can do yourself if you're comfortable getting on a ladder. If not, it's not expensive to have a professional come out and do it for you. I do the professional, they come out, do it the correct way, it's done correctly, and have that done yearly or as often as you need, because that prevents a lot of damage that could end up being very costly. So don't forget to maintain the gutters. Look at the gutters when you're home searching, make sure it has gutters and they're intact. And then use your job, if you purchase that home, to maintain those gutters, make sure they're clean and draining correctly. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is if you choose a house with a patio or a deck. So I talked a little bit about patios before, but you'll have to consider the maintenance for that as well. Things like removing the snow, sweeping the debris off regularly, the fall leaves, you want to keep that nice and clean. Those are things that you can do yourself. You can maintain those things yourself. But you should also power wash. You'll have to power wash to keep the wood clean and prevent any buildup of, mold or debris or anything like that, any moisture. You have to power wash. Power washing is something that you can do yourself if you have the equipment, if you buy the equipment, or again, you can hire a professional to come in and power wash it. Usually you do this when the seasons change. So your deck is most important, because after the snow and all of that has dried up, that's something that you're going to want to clean up or power wash to make sure that all the dirt and moisture is gone from the dirty snow that builds up. But again, you can hire someone to do that for you. You'll also need to seal the wood. So if you are able to do that yourself, you can save some money. If not, you can hire a service to do that, but that is also important, because that's another preventative thing to do to make sure that the wood stays nice and lasts longer. I know in some condominium associations, they actually come out and do it for the people. It's included with their association fees, so that's pretty cool. Also, this one I heard about recently, and I never thought of, but moving your furniture around at least once a year. Because if you think about it, the furniture that you're leaving on the deck, where the wood is, or the patio, whatever it is, where the wood is, it's collecting moisture and it's causing debris. And you can see this a lot on properties where if you move the furniture, it's like black or green. And that's because that furniture has been sitting there so long. So at least once a year, you should move around your furniture to prevent that from happening. So again, these are all things to prevent damage. So if you keep up with the maintenance on your deck or your patio, you can prevent a lot of damage, and you can have those, your deck or your patio last for years, way more years than maybe you had thought they would in the first place. So these are things that, there was one more thing that I wanted to mention about patios and decks. You want to make sure you keep up with their repairs. So with the wood, especially, you can get nails that are sticking out. Maybe there's a missing board or a loose board. There's cracks in the wood. Those are things that you want to keep up with, and you're going to have to maintain if you choose to have a deck. Because you want to do these during the summer months, the summer, spring, or even the fall. But you want to do it before the winter, because once that stuff is covered with snow, it's going to cause moisture. Those cracks are going to get worse. Those nails are going to rust. So you want all of that done and clean before the winter comes. It's basically like winterizing it, making sure it's all ready and prepared, because it's going to sit in the winter. But that will, again, prevent any further damage and, give you a longer life for that deck. So make sure you maintain the wood on your decks and on your patios as well. The next one I wanted to talk about when you're searching for your home, if you choose a home with a pool, this is an additional maintenance that you will have. It is worth it if you love to use the pool. Of course, you can hire a pool service, and since it's seasonal, it's not that costly for us because it's only a couple months out of the year. It's not all year round, but they can maintain your pool and make sure it's up to date and has all the good chemicals that it needs to have. They can also come and open it up in the beginning of the season, and then they can close it up, winterize it for the end of the season. So it's definitely good to have a professional do that if you're not, if you don't know what you're doing as far as the pools, but that is something that is good because, again, it will keep your pool in good shape for a longer period of time, and it will prevent any like algae or mold or fungus or anything like that building up while you're not using the pool for the winter. So depending on your skills, you may want to hire a professional, you may want to do it yourself, but it's important that your pool stays in working condition. And since we're on the summer topic, I would like to next talk about maintenance for your HVAC system, which is your air conditioning system. So typically people will hire a professional to do this job. Most of us don't know how to inspect an air conditioner. Maybe some people do, but it's my recommendation that you hire a professional to do this because it is important, especially if you have central air, it is very important. So the HVAC company will come out and they'll do an inspection, and then they'll clean out the vents and the ducts. And this, again, will prevent any costly repairs later on down the road if you just wait until the air conditioner breaks. So again, this is important because specifically we're in New Jersey and we have all 4 seasons. So when the seasons change, we don't use that air conditioner anymore, just like the heat. We have to turn that off at some point and then we turn it back on. So it's great to have a professional come out and pay for them to do it the correct way. Turn off the heat, turn off the air conditioner, turn it back on, turn it off, inspect it, make sure it's all up and working. This way, you prevent any issues later on down the road. And like I've been saying, this will give you a longer lifespan on both your air conditioner system and your heat system. So very important to keep up with those and keep them maintained. The next next maintenance that you want to look out for is the plumbing system. This one, people don't really get checked too often until there is a problem with the plumbing, which again, that's the point of keeping up with the maintenance of this. But I mean, I would say every couple of years, I'm not a plumber, you might want to call the plumber and ask them how often they suggest that you follow up with the maintenance on that or get that inspected and cleaned and checked. But this maintenance is also very important because you don't want to, find out, I don't know, the day you have a plumbing problem and you can't take a shower or something like that. So you want to make sure that your plumbing system is intact. And when you're home shopping and considering a home, you want to look at how much plumbing, what's connected to your plumbing system. So how many bathrooms are there? How many showers are there? How many sinks are there? How many washing machines? How many dishwashers? How many toilets there are? All of the things that connect to your plumbing. So you have a general idea of how much maintenance you're going to have to do as far as plumbing. Now, you should also consider when looking for your home is if it has a sump pump. This is something that can be installed as well, but you will have to maintain the sump pump, and it is very important to check the sump pump regularly and make sure that it is draining correctly. The last thing you want to do is find out the day of a big storm or the day after a bunch of snow has melted that your pump's motor is shot and not working. So again, we want to prevent that from happening. So with normal maintenance, regular maintenance, we can prevent those moments where you're stuck and everything's overflowing. We don't want that to happen. And we did just see this happen recently with a lot of people with the storm that we just had. Their sump pumps didn't work, or they had floods and there was no draining, that didn't drain correctly. So actually next week I have someone coming on. He's a homeowner's insurance agent, and he's going to speak about what specific items, sump pumps is one of them, you need to make sure are in good standing, and how that's covered or not covered in insurance and the steps you need to take to make sure you are covered. So that's next week, so I won't talk too much about that, but he'll be coming on to help us better understand when searching for a home, what you should also be searching for as far as homeowners insurance to make sure that home is protected. But anyway, keeping up with the maintenance on your sump pump can save you lots of time and money in the future. So make sure that drain is draining correctly and the motor is working. Another item that should be serviced often, but a lot of people overlook or just let go, I guess you could say, is a chimney. So the chimney should be serviced. It should be inspected. It should be cleaned. And the bigger the fireplace, if you know, that should be serviced and cleaned as well and inspected. You know, especially if you're using the fireplace. So if you're using it, you want to make sure that it's safe. You want to make sure that there's no debris or soot or anything in there that can be harmful to you breathing it in. So again, it's important to have it cleaned. You should definitely get a professional in to do that just because it's dangerous and not many of us know about chimneys. So I recommend yearly and again, these are just my opinions. I recommend yearly if you're using the fireplace, but then again, even if you're not using it, you don't want all that buildup inside the chimney. So you do want to make sure it's cleaned out. I think there's a filter or something that needs to be replaced in there. But again, you want to talk to a chimney specialist about that, especially if you're using a fireplace connected to the chimney. You want to make sure that that's clean and safe for you and your family to be breathing in, and even just to be open and out. And also that's something to prevent, you know, later on down the road, if you decide you do want to use the fireplace, if you waited 10 years to ever get it looked at that point, it's going to be very dirty and you don't know if it's even usable. So you want to keep up with that, maintain it, keep it in good shape so that it lasts longer. Also, most homes today, we know, have wooden floors. Some of them still have carpet floors. You know, I'm talking about wood inside. And both types of floors will need to be maintained. Again, you can choose to do this maintenance on your own, or you can hire a company to do this for you. Wood floors need to be taken care of after normal wear and tear. I mean, this is something you can see, so it's not like you have to yearly go around and check the floors because you can see them. But you'll know when you need to get them serviced because it's normal, like I just said, wear and tear. You know, you can get the floors resurfaced, refinished. You can get them sealed again. These repairs aren't usually yearly, like I said, but they are something you need to keep up with because the more you let it go, the worse the floor gets. And like all of these other examples I've given, it will cost you more in the long run. So you want to keep up with it little by little so that it's maintained. And same with the carpets, you know, you want to keep them cleaned and steam cleaned and keep up with them. I actually just saw a house that had a carpet on it since 1995, and it's 2021. And you would never, not that you would never know because it was like, it's like a light green with kind of a design on it, but it's actually like in great condition. So this woman, it was a couple, she had taken such good care of her carpet that, you know, it lasted that long. I mean, that's crazy. You go into these other houses and the carpet's at 10 years old and it looks disgusting. So if you maintain your stuff and you take care of your stuff, it will last you very long. So that's the point of maintenance. Keep that in mind when you are home searching, whether you're looking for wood floors or carpet floors, you need to take care of them. Unless you want to fully replace them every couple of years too. That's fine. That's also maintenance. The last thing I wanted to talk about, two more things. When you're searching for a home is to pay attention to the driveway because you're going to have to maintain that too. Again, this isn't something that's probably going to have to be maintained yearly. It's something, again, you can see, you can walk on it, you can see where the damage is. If there are cracks in your driveway, you need to reseal them. And this, again, is a seasonal job. So if you see the cracks in the summer, spring, or fall, you want to get them sealed before the winter comes, because once that snow comes piling on, maybe there's going to be ice. The ice will make those cracks even bigger, and then you end up with a bigger problem by the time the winter season is over and you'll have to deal with that. So again, being preventative, make sure you seal those cracks and prevent any further damage, and keep up with the maintenance to your driveway. I see that very often too. The driveways are just a disaster, all cracked up, and it could have been prevented, all cracked up. And it could have been prevented with them simply sealing once the crack actually started. But instead now there's, huge cracks everywhere. So very important, maintain your driveway so that, again, it has a longer lasting life. Now, depending on where you live in New Jersey, you may want to buy a home with a generator, or at least with the capability to hook up a generator. Some areas further west, they tend to lose power during the storms, the thunderstorms and the snowstorms. So that generator is very important. So you want to maintain the generator, make sure it's properly working, inspect it. If you need to get a new one, get a new one, because you don't want to wait until last minute when you're in the middle of a storm and that generator's not working, because chances are you're not going to be able to reach someone to get out and service that generator because there's a storm. So very important to maintain that so that you can keep the power going in your home if you live in an area where that's necessary. So as you can see, there are a lot of things to consider when choosing your home and how much maintenance you're willing to do, or how much maintenance you're willing to pay someone to do for their services. The amount of maintenance will always depend on the size of your home and what features your home has, as we went over. The pricing will vary depending on whether you're going to do the work yourself or if you're going to choose to hire a professional. And I think definitely it's definitely safe to say that it's better to do the maintenance regularly to prevent any serious issues with your home and to give your items and features a longer lifespan. So if you're interested in a property or you're in the middle of your home search and you would like to know more about what the maintenance will be on that property, I'm more than happy to help you with that. I'm also more than happy to help you with your home search and help you find a home that fits your specific maintenance requests. So I'm Amanda Tolve with Tolve Closes. Thank you for listening to today's program. And as usual, if you have any questions or comments, you can contact me directly at 201-456-1842. You can call or text anytime. Next week, like I mentioned earlier, we will be going over the very important items to consider when buying a home that will affect your homeowner's insurance. Again, thank you guys for joining and have a great week.